Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Jeff Mercer, of course, the head baseball coach at Indiana. How's it going?
Good. How are you today?
Doing well. So let's how is the season kind of going? So I know it's only just a few weeks away before you guys start heading out for games.
Yeah, I would say I feel good about where we're at with returning the majority of the position player group and the pitching staff being young but really talented. I feel good about where we're at. I like the guys and I feel like we're just in a good place overall.
Yeah. So let's just talk about take me, around the diamond, tell everybody where everyone's going to be at this year. Is I know maybe positions haven't been set up yet, but just
Yeah.
kind of maybe give an idea of who's going to be out there for you guys.
Yeah, I think I'll start behind the plate.
Okay.
Our catching duties will probably be split by Matt Ellis and Pete Cerruto. Brock Tibbetts is a catcher as well. We'll be back there. So I think those three guys will rotate their way through primarily. Josh Pine will play third base for us. Josh was a freshman All-American last year, really good player. So Josh will play third. Philip Glasser will play shortstop for us. He's a very good player. Second base, really down to Evan Goforth and Tyler Cerny. I think both of those guys will be in there. First base, Brock Tibbetts, Tyler Cerny gets out over first base a little bit, and then George DeGote could slide in and play a little bit, kind of as a fourth or fifth infielder. I think Georgie's done a really good job and continues to trend in the right direction. You look in the outfield. I feel really good about where we're at in the outfield as well. We return, 3 or 4 quality starters there and add a really good freshman. So probably in left we'll have Carter Matheson. Carter was a freshman All-American, played primarily left field last year for us. Center field, Bobby Whalen and Morgan Colopy. They could go to any 3 positions, but both of them have a defensive ability to play center field. In right field, you've got Hunter Jesse. Hunter was a really good player for us last year. He played some right field, so I feel good there. Again, Bobby and Morgan could go to all 3. It really depends upon kind of the matchup and how we feel about how those guys match up offensively. Some late game replacements, and then Devin Taylor is a terrific freshman. Devin's gonna factor in some form or fashion, I would say, in the outfield at first base or DH, and so he'll find his way onto the field. So I would say, returning that lineup that we had last year, which was potent, is exciting, but also there's 3 or 4 guys that are new or young that could slide in there and play substantial time as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about the pitching. What's that looking like?
I feel good about where we're at. I don't know that we've necessarily settled our rotation at this point, which normally you would say probably isn't a good thing, but this year it is, where I feel like we've got 5 or 6 guys that could start that I feel really good about. It really now is just kind of settling onto how I want them to line up, and then who do we have at the back end. So you look at Gabe Levy, was a transfer from Davidson, has been terrific his whole career. So he's kind of in that front end or back end position. Ben Seiler was a Friday guy from Siena who's been really good. The velo's up. He's got himself in really good shape. He's looked terrific. Ty Bothwell as a starter. Ty started down the stretch a little bit last year and transitions probably into a starting role. Seti Manasseh is a junior college transfer from Tacoma, has been excellent. Really good slider, splitter, has been terrific. The fastball's got some lift to it, so that's exciting. Luke Senard could also start for us or close for us. Big 6'8", 6'9", low to mid 90s, 4 pitches with a splitter. That's terrific. Ryan Kraft could probably start for us as well. 88, 91 with a sinker, cutter, changeup, curveball combo that really has taken a big jump from last year. So I'd say those guys are probably the main conversation piece to be starters. But you also have got Luke Hayden could potentially start, Evan Whitaker, Braden Reisdorf. Some of those freshmen could potentially slide in there a little bit as well.
Yeah. So looking at where the conference is at right now, when you get to conference play, it's pretty strong. Once again, what's it going to be like this year in Big Ten play?
Well, I think typically there's usually 1 or 2 teams that you don't know are going to end up in the top 3 or 4 that usually end up there, right? You get a team like Rutgers made obviously a huge jump this past year. They really thrust their way into that conversation. A couple of years ago, I can remember we were in the conference tournament. We won won the regular season. I think we played Iowa that first game. I think they were the 8 seed potentially, and here they are in the top 2 or 3, right? So you see, like, on an annual basis, programs can really surge quickly, and so you look at the guys that played well last year. Obviously, Maryland, Rutgers, Iowa, Illinois. You would imagine those teams are going to be in contention in the top 4 or 5 again in the league. And then you're going to have a conversation about, what does Michigan do? Michigan returns a lot of veteran pieces. They lost a lot, but they also return a lot of really good players. They return most of their rotation on the weekend. They return, the majority of their offense, and they're veterans. So, a team like Michigan could really make a run at and doing this again. Obviously, they went to the postseason last year, and you look at Penn State. Penn State returns some guys that are good players. They've done a really good job on the mound. So, what is a team like Penn State? Can they make a run? So, there's a lot of good baseball in the league. There's a lot of good baseball in the league. It's become a much deeper league than it was, even 5 or 10 years ago. Honestly, when I was at Wright State and playing against the Big Ten teams, and my experience from the Big Ten, 7 to 10 years ago, to my experience with it now, it's a very different league than it was at that point, and that's very exciting. I think you look at the investment financially and facilities and recruiting budgets and assistant coaches' salary pools. All those things have skyrocketed in the last 10 years, and you're seeing the dividends paid in recruiting. And if you can recruit, then you can develop, and you have really good teams, and you're seeing that across the board in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Let's take a look at your non-conference schedule. What are you going to see there? Because it seems like every team always tries to schedule some really good teams in conference play, and there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, so we open at Auburn for 3, and then we'll go to University of Texas for 3, and then we go to East Carolina tournament for 3, and we play East Carolina, Georgetown, and I think Long Beach State. So we'll have one of the best strength of schedules in the country, maybe the best here, coming out of the first 3 weekends, and we do it on purpose. If you want to be able to play at a national level, compete at a national level in the postseason, then you have to go play teams that compete nationally annually, right? So if you want to go and play in the postseason, then go play in a postseason environment. And I've always been a firm believer in competition, and I think that if you shield your guys from it, then the first time they really face adversity, that's you've not built them for sustained success. And I get it all the time where you overschedule, or your schedule is too difficult. But if we want to compete for a national championship, which is what our goal is, then we have to go play teams that compete for that. And I'll always do that, and I'm a firm believer in it. And we're talented enough to go play with anybody. Now, being big, fast, and strong and physical doesn't necessarily qualify you to go and beat those teams. But we won't be out talented on any field that we go on this year. And so now we just have to be good enough at playing the game. And the only way to get better at that is to go play guys that are really good at it. And I feel confident in the group that's going to be able to go on the field and compete with them, but also confident in the group that they're going to be emotionally stable enough to walk into environments and grow through it.
Yeah. Also, talk about your talk about what you want to see out of this team in the first few weeks, to really kind of see where you're at right now.
Yeah. Well, I think the main thing you want to see guys do is you just want to go see them play and improve throughout the course of the first month. Everyone's going to be trying to figure things out, right? Like, our rotation's not going to be set. Well, neither is Auburn's, right? They're going to be shuffling the deck and moving the chairs around, and so is Texas, right? So everyone's going to be moving the deck. The question is can you go and compete and improve, and then build yourself to become the best team that you can be in the last month of the season, because that's when all the moving and shaking happens. We finished 8th in the league last year. We were 3 or 4 games out of being in the top 3 in the league, right? So it's like there's so much movement in the last month of the season to be had that you can play your way into a position that you wouldn't think you would in the first month, right? My first year at Indiana, we go down to an SEC school and we get swept the second weekend of the season, and everyone's up in arms. Well, 2 months later, we win the Big Ten and we're a 2 seed, right? We're ranked top 20 for half the season. So there's so much of the season left after the first couple of weeks. All you're really trying to do is you're trying to learn, you're trying to grow, you're trying to improve, and you have to expose the kids to high level baseball. And then the expectation becomes that's the standard. You go play high level baseball, you play against the best competition, you learn how to play it, you learn how to play like that. And then the expectation is now that's the standard, and you play that way every day. And it helps. It helps a ton for the kids to be exposed to that. So that's what I want from them. I just want them to go play hard, go compete, learn, grow through it, and make sure that we play at that standard the rest of the season, and the rest of it takes care of itself.
All right. Well, Jeff Mercer, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck this season.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.